Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Archtraveler. Today I visit one of my friendly couples studio in HIR Studio. Irene, I know that you and Howard used to work in the biggest UK architectural firm and Hong Kong architectural firm. What makes you to jump out from your comfort zone to start your own practice?
Oh yeah, so as what Simon has said, Howard and I have been working with Foster & Partners, one of the biggest architectural practice in the world probably. The reason why we started HIR Studio is in 2014, Howard and I have joined an architectural competition organized by the RIBA Hong Kong chapter, and we won the competition and we had the opportunity to build a very large-scale public installation artwork for the Pacific Place. And although the duration of the setup was pretty short, it was only 2 to 3 months, but I think the result of the installation really touched us. We thought that we were really touched by the way how the visitors were interacting with the artwork, how public installation work have created a very intimate spatial relationship with the visitors, and really inspired by the reaction of the people. And therefore, in year 2000, I think year 2016, Howard and I have decided to, why don't we just give it a try? Let's have a go at exploring more in the public installation and public spatial design and see if we can work it out. So in year 2016, 2017, we've started HIR Studio. In this art installation, we have created 12 gigantic trumpet-like structure that were hung from the ceiling of the atrium at the Pacific Place. And 3 of these trumpets, we have created 360-degree panoramic video projection to create an immersive video viewing experience for the visitors. And there were also 9 other smaller trumpets with interactive lighting and also with some mirage mirrors. We have a lot of interactive artworks anywhere in shopping malls or in exhibitions. But I think back in 2014, it's actually quite rare in Hong Kong to have interactive installation. We interpret traditional materials in public artwork. So we've actually created rattan woven texture to create these gigantic trumpets, and the impact that is created is something that's very unexpected, because people don't expect to see trumpets to be made from woven rattans, and we've created it. So it's actually kind of helped to raise the people's curiosity about, oh, what is it actually about? I want to go and have a look at it when they're actually walking towards the space. We visited the Pacific Place. The atrium space is actually really huge. It's multi-story, and by suspending the 12 trumpets from the skylight roof that's just 3 meters above the ground level, we've actually helped to bring a very large space into something that's very intimate. We've created little hubs of activities under the trumpets, so people can actually have a very immersive experience when they're looking at the videos, as well as they can have a very intimate dialogue with the interactive lighting and mirage mirrors.
I saw that this interesting piece of plastic is full of your painful story of your practice. Can you share with us?
So in 2008, the Shatin Town Hall, they came to us. They want us to actually look at designing a series of seating for the public space. We actually create something that truly belongs to the Shatin residents. And one thing that actually inspired us immediately is the icon of Shatin, which is the Shatin River. And when we actually dig a little bit deeper into the Shatin River, the quality of the river is quite good when you look at it. Actually, there's still a lot of plastic garbage that were actually being flushed out from the river into the sea. Actually upcycling the plastic into the public seating for the Shatin residents, to provide seating to them at Shatin Town Hall. And also we then came up with the idea of doing something from Shatin for Shatin. Collaborated with a number of local NGOs to collect household plastic garbage from the residents, as well as we were actually very fortunate to have the help from the Environmental Protection Department to help us to collect plastic from Shatin residents as well. It took us about 2 months to collect enough plastic bottles, and then we send the plastic garbage to the local plastic recycling processing plants, and turning them into these little plastic pellets that I have here. And then we send all these plastic pellets to the factory in China for molding into these little pieces of recycled plastic modules. The reason why we've made these into little slices is because the mold itself is actually quite expensive. So we developed this idea of using these little modules to have the flexibility to actually create benches that can be 5 meters long or just 1 meter long. And we also actually, these modules can rotate at different angles to create curvy, ripple-like shapes for the benches. The project actually took us about a year to complete, and it took us a lot of testing to actually find out what kind of plastic we can use to create these benches. We found that the quality of these recycled plastic pellets in Hong Kong is actually not as good as those you can find in Europe. And in fact, we've actually gone to, I think, 4 or 5 of these plastic recycling plants in Hong Kong. We test out every one of these plastics, and we found that we actually only managed to find pellets from one factory that worked. And so therefore this is a very, very long process and difficult, but I think the outcome was actually good, because we believe that the fact that we can allow people to actually touch and see the fruits of recycling actually do help to people to understand the importance of recycling plastics. Recently, our studio have been commissioned by the Leisure and Cultural Services Department to design a series of interior public space design for the children's library. And I think for me, in particular, it's been something that's very special for me, because I've also recently become a parent myself, and parent-child reading becomes something very important in my daily lives, basically. So, as you know, the children's library in Hong Kong that were built in the 80s or 90s, they were quite static, quite boring. They were basically rows of bookshelves, and there isn't actually much space for people to gather or to actually explore the library itself. We're trying to create some unique characters in each of these libraries. And these characters, it could be inspired from the local history of the library itself, or it could be something basically just to create a fun and intimate reading space for the readers. And also something very special that we've done for these libraries is that we have carried out a series of public consultations with the children and the parents. So what we've done is basically my whole team here. We spend weekends at the libraries talking to the children, talking to the parents. Because children, they cannot actually tell you very clearly what kind of space they want. We have created a series of floating boards to help them to visualize what are the possibilities that they can have in these spaces. So, for example, when they read with the parents, do they want to sit side by side or around a table, or do they want us to actually create a cave-like space for them to actually hide together with their mom or dad, and when they read? We've also done some mini workshops at the library, and we were really impressed by some of the children, because some of them can actually spend 2 hours just sitting at the table, drawing and immerse into their little world. Like, for example, there's a little boy, he spent 2 hours basically creating a space-themed library that's blue in color with astronauts and planets and everything. Doing this kind of public consultation is that we actually get to talk to the people. And when we get to talk to the children, when they're drawing or when they're voting, we talk to them, we try to understand their usage habits. How do they use the library? What does the library mean to them? Why did we start HIR Studio? Is because we want to create dialogue with the users. And I think by doing this kind of public space design, talking to the users, we have actually managed to achieve what we wanted to do at the very beginning of starting our own practice. Besides the public libraries design that we were doing, we want to continue to create this kind of dialogues with the users, as well as to try to create public spaces that can engage people, whether it could be by means of interactive design or it could be by means of public participation. And coincidentally, recently we've been commissioned by the Leisure and Cultural Services Department to do a series of playground, again, do the public consultation process. So the whole team will actually go down to the playground to talk to the users, talk to the children, parents, and try to engage in them to rethinking what kind of ideal space do they want to create in their community.